I'm almost as shocked as you are that this actually ended up being a pretty decent show. Not an excellent, amazing show or anything, but compared to shows we've been getting for the past how many years, it was better than WrestleMania 35. I think I could definitely start off with saying that without a shadow of a doubt. That was a terrible WrestleMania, probably the worst WrestleMania of all time. No hyperbole there. I still look back on it and say that it was just a horribly booked, put together show. But this actually ended up being a really decent show, with a really good outcome at the end in the Rumble match. It was a pretty entertaining show throughout. They had a decent amount of surprises. Not a whole lot, but there was one massive one. I think you all know what I'm talking about. If you've seen the show or read it on the internet, you'll probably definitely hear about it eventually, if you don't watch this whole video, but I recommend that you do, of course. So let's get to the show here. We've got Stone Cold kicking things off in a little vignette. He's talking about how everyone is here tonight at the Rumble, with their eyes on the prize. It was a good way of kicking things off, I suppose. A little message there from, my personal favorite of all time. Reigns and Corbin kicked things off in a Falls Count Anywhere match. I don't know what it was. I wasn't really feeling it. You guys know I'm a fan of both of these guys, but I don't know. We've seen these guys wrestle before. We've seen them feud. I just couldn't get into it. I mean, I'm not going to say this was a bad match or anything. It was good. The match ended, on the dugout. You had run-ins from Rude and Ziggler and the Usos. But really, in the end, it was just there was so much going on. And, I know that's a complaint with a lot of people. There's a term that they say overbooked, but what does that really even mean? It's just, just too much with, once again, not giving you enough time to process everything. There was the porta potty spot, but there was no fecal matter in there, which I'm kind of happy that they didn't go that route. The Vince McMahon humor, seeing somebody covered, in feces, it's tiresome. At least, they didn't do that, but, Corbin goes into the porta potty, it gets tipped over, it ends with a spear on top of the dugouts. They were in Minute Maid Park, so that added a little bit to it, but it felt really long. This was a 20-minute match. It just, I felt like they kind of could have cut this at least to 15 or 12 minutes. Giving time to two big stars, but, I don't know, it went really long, longer than it really needed to go. Up next, they start with the Royal Rumble. It's the Women's Royal Rumble, so they kind of did it in reverse of what they did last year, and I'm happy that they decided to go that route. I am very surprised that they didn't take the opportunity. Well, I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm surprised, and I'm also not so surprised that they didn't decide to just call this a Royal Rumble, or the way how things are going, because, go watch my video on, if you haven't already, how they renamed the NXT Women's title to just the NXT title. This was, a really cumbersome idea, because, okay, I get what they wanted to do. They want to build Becky Lynch, cringy Lynch, into being this messiah, just like her husband, right? The Monday Night Messiah of the women's division, but it's not really the women's division, I guess. They're trying to work towards removing that. And it makes no sense, because it's the women's revolution. They're supposed to be putting emphasis on the women, but they kind of want to get away from the term of them just being women. So it was a statement where I understood where cringy Lynch was coming from. But when you really sit back and think about it, you go, what? Like, okay, the whole thing about it is supposed to be that you guys are women and you weren't respected. You were relegated to bra and panties matches. No one took you seriously as serious athletes, you know. You wanted to be treated like the men, right? You know, Cringy Lynch wants to be the Stone Cold Steve Austin, you know, of her generation for the women. She wants to bring women up to that level. You know, never mind the fact that people like Trish Stratus and Lita were far more entertaining women. They were still able to compete in bra and panties matches and in serious, whatever that means, you know, wrestling matches, you know, and still be respected for their ability. Does everyone forget how much, you know, JR and even the King would take time to even compliment them on their improvement? Remember when Trish first started, you know, she was just kind of like doing cat fights, but then she evolved and she started doing Frankensteiners and bulldogs from the top rope, and she became a pretty impressive athlete. But never mind all that, right? Because, you know, there's a narrative going on here. So I'm surprised with, you know, everything going on. And I would not be surprised if in 2021 they don't refer to this as the non-binary Royal Rumble. You know, I was watching this show at my friend's house, J-Man or Wyatt. You know, I'll put a link down to his channel in the description. I've done this on a number of occasions. A good friend of mine, you know, he had a few friends over, a few friends of mine as well. We all had a gathering for this, you know. And you know I haven't been regularly reviewing the show, but, you know, how am I going to pass up on that opportunity to, you know, hang out with some friends and, you know, watch this show? And, you know, plus we're going to get to the men's Rumble match, and there was something on there that I was looking forward to, and I was, you know, pleasantly surprised with how it turned out. But, you know, we were joking around about this whole women's thing, and like how it's gone totally off the rails, where it started off meaning well, but we all knew that the way how things go nowadays, that meaning well doesn't really mean a whole lot. It means that it's going to turn into something cringy. And, you know, this has been going on for a few years already, but it's kind of stayed away from being absolutely cringy. You know, Stephanie McMahon definitely made it cringy, but, you know, Cringy Lynch has taken it to a new level that, you know, Charlotte had avoided. Even Sasha Banks, I will even have to admit. Where was she on this show, by the way? Okay, so let's focus on the Rumble. You know, we've had our jokes here. We've called it, you know, the non-binary Rumble. But I really want to know, if we're going to take the term out of it, what are we going to call it? If we can't call it the female Rumble, we can't call it, you know, the women's Rumble. Like, honestly, what are we going to call it to differentiate it from the men's Rumble? You know, and what are we going to, you know, and I even saw Wade Keller actually started referring to I'll save it, but he actually started referring to the women's titles on the show. He started calling them the SmackDown and the Raw title. So he's already acting accordingly, even though they haven't officially done that with the main roster titles. He started doing that because, you know, he's taking a page from the NXT title, and now he's making that a thing. So, you know, Wade Keller has already been sawing it up over on his reviews on PW Torch. You know, congrats to him for doing that. But anyway, okay, let's talk about this Rumble. Let's talk about the non-binary Rumble and see how this all turned out. So what was really funny is, you know, you only really had like 3 surprises, and one of them was really stupid. I mean, it was kind of funny for, you know, because it hasn't happened in a while, so it was kind of like a little throwback. But it really showed you, like, you know, how we got nostalgic during the Ruthless Aggression era when they would show us something from the Attitude era. You know, and as time passes, things that are referred to as nostalgia are super, super, super cringy looking back on them. Okay, so we'll talk about the more, you know, positive entrance. We got to see Molly Holly. We got to see Kelly. You know, it was actually Mighty Molly. She was dressed up in her, you know, Mighty Molly attire. So, that was cool to see her back then. She had her Karen style haircut, which we were all joking around about. She was begging for to refund an item at the customer service counter. I mean, come on. You have to joke around about this. But I like Mighty Molly. I like Molly Holly. I think she's a great athlete. But I've seen a lot of things she said on social media, and she was around today as a full-time competitor. She would be super cringy, and she probably would be a Karen of sorts. So, that's true. But Kelly was in there. She didn't last long. You had Santino Marella dressed in drag. As Santina. His persona from WrestleMania 25. As much as I'm like not for this women's revolution thing and it being as cringy as it is and as cringy as WWE and Cringy Lynch have made it, I have to say I did not support having Santino Marella take the spotlight off the women at WrestleMania 25 and go into the Battle Royal, which was already a badly booked, Battle Royal. All the women came out with Kid Rock all at once. And then, it was just a huge mess. There was nothing really entertaining about or memorable. But Santino Marella dressed as a girl, poorly dressed as a girl, and came out and actually ended up winning the whole thing. There was no physicality between him or the women. It's really funny how they've kind of like steered away from still doing that because, you think about what's going on in Impact Wrestling. And obviously, from that announcement, that was hot off the heels of Tessa Blanchard winning the Impact World title. The announcement of the NXT title being referred to, the NXT women's title being referred to as the NXT title. That was hot off the heels of Tessa Blanchard winning the world title, and that being probably the most historic, act of, women's revolutionizing or whatever you want to call it. The big feminist movement going on in the wrestling world. That was the big thing. So, it's really funny. So you had Marella in there, and you just had him like stared down by Beth Phoenix. He ends up just like leaving the ring. There was no physicality, but the thing is, like, there was no physicality here. So why are they not like? I don't know why they didn't just have Beth, like pick him up and like throw him over the top rope. Like, they're not willing to commit to that yet. And I don't know why. I guess it's sponsors or something like that. But I really don't know. I mean, like, what are they really so afraid of? They used to do it back in the day. And if you're going to go through this whole thing of removing the gender of the division and the title, and you're not going to point that out, and then you get into things like Nyla Rose and AEW, I kind of get where they're coming from there, because then if they decide to hire someone of that nature, then it kind of would make sense in a way why they might be opposed to having a gender specific name for that division. I mean, this is so weird. Like, the fact that I even have to talk about this in a wrestling review is just, it's cringy in itself. Even cringier than Lynch, I have to say. But, they're not willing to commit. Like, that's going too far, right? We want to remove the gender out of the divisions, but we don't want to have any physicality between the men and the women. I don't get it. So, Santina eliminates himself, herself, whatever you want to say there. And it was really funny as we're watching this thing. One of my friends there, just turns to me and says, and it was actually the moment that Dakota Kai came out and said, like, how come most of these wrestlers, like, they're good wrestlers and everything, and they know how to wrestle, but, like, why don't they have any characters? Why are they just kind of like, and I just turned to him and I said, because they're great wrestlers, and I really did the air quote. I said, that's their character. They're great wrestlers, and that's all they really need to be, right? Exactly. See, there's someone who doesn't watch on the regular, and he sees it, saying that, what what are these girls? Like, what do they do? Okay, they're wrestlers, but like, who are they? They all have these plain names. Dakota Kai, a girl's called Shotski. She sounds like, I think I knew a dog by the name of Shotski. I'm not trying to be disrespectful there, but I'm saying, like, I think I literally did know a dog with that kind of name. It doesn't even sound like the name of a human being. It's probably not even her real name, Shotski, right? The girl, she had like green hair and everything, and kind of, and I also have to say, like, Toni Storm, we had talked about Toni Storm, right? She had a match. Wasn't it like Evolution or something like that? I believe that's what it was. She had a match, right? Here she really started to remind me of Ashley Mazzaro. I don't have a problem with her reminding me of that, but she definitely seems like she's taking a page out of Ashley Mazzaro's book, the whole entire look, the hair, everything. So, all of this, and, where was Sasha Banks in all of this? She wasn't even in this Rumble, but, Beth Phoenix, by the way, like, she got the back of her head busted open. That's, like, really weird. Like, most of the time when these wrestlers get busted open, don't they usually send out the trainer to, like, check on them and stuff? Now it's just like, oh, you know what? Let them go. It's all fine and well, but she's like bleeding out of the back. Her hair is like soaked in blood. God knows how big the gash is in the back of her head, but they're letting her go. And I mean, like, okay, that's how they used to do it back in the day. Having the trainer go into the ring and everything and take them out is kind of lame. But, like, once again, we got to be concerned for these individuals. We've had a lot of injuries. We've had problems with concussions. So, like, that was kind of weird. I feel like with the men, they, like, rush in there. But with the women, where they should be even more concerned because they're women. I mean, even though this is kind of more like a non-binary Royal Rumble, I'm just saying they should be more concerned. I'm just saying, like... but anyway, you got Charlotte ends up winning this thing, which I kind of knew that she would. It comes down to her and Shayna Baszler. Many people are surprised that Shayna Baszler didn't win. And I'm really not. Because, like, first of all, that would be tremendously lame. Because, first of all, you're loading this thing up. Triple H obviously was in firm control of this Rumble. Because, like, you really think that McMahon is going to be booking all these NXTers? And like, they should not be having a women's Rumble. I'm going to tell you something. I enjoyed this women's Rumble. I really did. There was nothing really that was, bad or like overly sloppy about it. It really was. I mean, I got to say, I still enjoy the 2018 Rumble better. With all the surprises, you had Michelle McCool, right? Lita was in there. Wasn't even Trish in there? I don't remember, but like, that's still my favorite one. But it was a decent Rumble. I wasn't really bored or anything, but Shayna Baszler, like, why would she win? She's in NXT, and they're filling up like all these slots, and it's like, if you don't watch NXT like me, you're not gonna know who any of these girls are. Oh, and I gotta mention Bianca Belair. Like, that girl's a star. Like, out of all these girls, Toni Storm, Dakota Kai, Mercedes Martinez, Mercedes Martinez is like, she's got this cartoonish, like, angry face. I'm like laughing, like, why does she look so pissed off? Like, just like, okay, I get she's like firing herself up, but it looks cartoonish. Like, come on. Like, honestly, like, go watch, like, the greats and how they displayed anger on their face and being menacing. They didn't go, like, I mean, come on. Like, it seems like you were watching, like, an anime or something like that, when people are angry, and that's the expressive nature you chose for your big Royal Rumble debut. But Bianca Belair came off as a star. She's tall. She's imposing. Um, she's. This is like, to me. This is like what Sasha Banks tries to be. She tries to be like, like really like cool and just like, but it doesn't come off well. Bianca Belair is like what Sasha Banks tries to be. I was very impressed. I never really watched her. Why during Survivor Series was Bianca Belair not a part of the women's team? And why was she like relegated to the backstage segments where she was pretty much off camera most of the time? I don't get that. Like, you've got a genuine star here, or a potential star. Of course, they'll ruin if they bring her to the main roster. But, I don't get it. Like, you trotted out Dakota Kai, Tegan Knox, who was also in here, and it's the same thing. It's like what my friend Eric said. It's just like, who are these people? Like, there's some good-looking, attractive girls and everything, but they look like nobodies. And you're trotting them out, and you're like, well, how are we supposed to get excited? If you don't watch NXT, how are you supposed to appreciate these people? Especially when it's someone like Tegan Knox or a Mercedes Martinez. Unless you're Bianca Belair, you're not going to stand out amongst the crowd. Anyway, the right person won here. People are complaining it should have been Shayna. Like, what is the problem? Why are so many people opposed to Charlotte? Like I don't understand. Like, obviously she's the most talented. Obviously she looks the most like a star. So what is the problem with having Charlotte win here to win a Rumble? I'm honestly not really seeing the problem. She hasn't won a Rumble yet. It made perfect sense. I knew she was going to win. I mean, okay, it was predictable, but like, they're not going to give it to Shayna Baszler, who's never been on the main roster. You're just going to have an NXT-er. I mean, of course, that wouldn't surprise me if they did do that, but I mean, it just makes more sense to just have Charlotte, an established star, win the Rumble. Makes way more sense than having Shayna Baszler win this thing. I mean, okay, they could have used the excuse that she had a match at Survivor Series in the main event, but like, I don't want to hear those excuses really, because it worked better having Charlotte win. And also seeing people get so upset over the decision just makes me like the decision even more, to be quite honest. Bayley defeated Lacey Evans. This was boring. This was uneventful. This was plain Jane as it gets. Like, I don't get it. Like, honestly here. Like you booked this like right after the Rumble match. We've already seen all the women. And where was Sasha? Is she like injured or something? Like, okay, I don't care. I don't want to see Sasha, I feel about Sasha. I don't want to see her. But like, this was the perfect example. If you need an example to show that Bayley is not getting over as a heel, that she's really like, the haircut, the change of attire. They could do all they want to try to implement different things to differentiate her personality from her former character, but they're not like, they gotta work with her, or just maybe it's just she's not good at what she does. First of all, she was a really cringy face. All she had was just, a bunch of obnoxious people that were buying her hugger shirts, and that's cringy in itself. But her heel persona, you listen to her promos, and like when she was on Miz TV, and it was all like by the numbers. You could hear the pauses. You could hear her trying to remember the script. It was awful. And why they'd give her the belt and just have her go on this run, and they're not even trying to help her. Like, you've got all these people backstage, all these guys, Devon, Adam Pearce, Hurricane Helms, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, you name it, Jeff Jarrett, all these people, they're just back there, and I don't know, they're sitting on their hands. I don't know. I really could not tell you, like, what are these people doing backstage? Like, they're back there taking up space basically, because they're not working with these girls, especially the ones who are really not getting it, and they're not doing a good job out there. So why is no one taking them aside? Like, honestly, like, there's no management. There's bad management. I don't know. It's like I don't get it with a person like Shawn Michaels. Like, I know Shawn Michaels has changed and everything. He's different than how he used to be in the 90s. But, like, this is a guy who used to be very take charge, right? Or he had a reputation, at least, for being very take charge. You know, he wanted things to be a certain way in the wrestling business. But where's that Shawn Michaels? Like, okay, I understand he changed, but doesn't he still want to see, like, the WWE look good and not be brought down by people like Bayley? You know, you've given her a match on the pretty prestigious, or once prestigious, Royal Rumble pay-per-view. So, like, I don't understand. Like, do people not see this match, see the promos, and just be like, oh, Bayley, like, come on, let me take you aside and give you a few pointers here about how to work on your character. Then we get The Fiend defeating Daniel Bryan. This was a really good match. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Two great stars here. Daniel Bryan seems like he's getting in better shape. Like, I have been the one to point that out, that if you look at him the way how he looked in like 2012, I still think he looked better then, you know, physique wise, but he's starting to kind of, you know, get back into that type of shape. But this was good. Like, you know, I actually liked the red light. I could see why people didn't. I think it kind of gave the Fiend's matches a little bit of extra oomph, but I kind of see why that might mess with people's eyes, and they didn't like to see it. It was annoying, and anyway, but this was good. It you know, it had a slower pace, but I like that they slowed it down. They sold everything. Actually, this kind of, when I talk about like how a match should be laid out, this is how it should be laid out. This is the type of wrestling I enjoy, where there's psychology, where everything they did made sense. These are two guys that are masters at their craft. People should be taking notes. They should be taking notice of a match like this, because this is how you do it. You don't rush through it. You gave it ample time to play out. Like, it was a longer match. But see, this is how, if you're going to give people a longer match, it should play out, and they should have time. They should properly sell it. And they did just that. The Fiend ends up winning. When there was some near falls, you know, I kind of knew that the Fiend was going to win anyway, but they were at least believable. They were placed strategically. There wasn't 1,001 of them. You know, it made sense. When people kicked out, it made sense at least. The only thing I have to say here is the commentary was absolutely abysmal during here. Michael Cole sounded like he was half asleep. Guys, I'm going to have to say it right now. If there's a person that should retire, if there's a person who should get out of there, and like, the thing is also, it's Corey Graves as well. Like, Corey Graves, like, there were points in this match, like, guys, like, hello, you know, okay, just because a guy's not doing a move in the match, and a guy's, like, getting up to his feet, trying to sell a move, you kind of should still talk about the story involved here. And see, this is exactly why there should be more story told. I mean, there was Kane's involvement in this, you know, and everything. But, like, I get it. But this is why there should be more story to these matches. But anyway, do some filler. Talk about the background. Talk about the psyche of the Fiend. Talk about what's going through Daniel Bryan's head. Someone say something. I mean, you know, okay, so the show, it's a long format. This thing went like for 4 hours. I get it. Okay, maybe it shouldn't be that long. Maybe that's case in point why shows shouldn't be that long. Why maybe only WrestleMania should be that long. If you're going to be that exhausted by the end of it. You know, and the thing is, you're not even calling every single match, and you're still, you know, half asleep during this thing. It's like, guys, wake up and call the match. Do your jobs. I mean, if Cole, I get it. You know, Cole gets paid well, and everything, but I mean, McMahon has to take notice. I know that Michael Cole's probably the best he ever had because he's a good puppet. That's no offense to Cole, but that's what McMahon wants, right? Someone to relay every single thing he's saying through the headset. But this is taking away from the match. Never mind that the crowd is exhausted through this long format show, but you're not helping matters by doing it in such a boring fashion. You're just seriously monotone walking through it. I know that this is supposed to be a serious moment. It's the Fiend. We should be scared. But I think instead of just being more solemn about it, there should be more urgency in Cole's voice. But Cole barely even had a voice during his match because he wasn't even talking. And this is not the first time this has happened, but I really, really took notice of it here because it was a good match and I was enjoying it. I was like, Cole, I'm saying, first of all, he needs to get more into it. Even if he's not digging this match, even if he's not enjoying this match, he should still pretend. I mean, that's what he's there to do. He's there to hype up the crowd, hype up the home audience, get us involved in this match. Get us involved in the psychology of the match, but Cole was not doing his job, and Corey Graves wasn't doing his either. But a great match, an enjoyable match. I like just about everything about this. I'll tell you something. Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan, I saw it since Royal Rumble 2014, have great chemistry. They work really well together. It's just, they got to tell better stories with The Fiend. They've got a great character here, and I've taken knocks after knocks at The Fiend and everything. That's because it's nothing about Bray Wyatt. It's something really specific about the character, but it's the way how he's portrayed. They have a great character here, and and Bray Wyatt even posted about this on social media. He knows they're going to F up his character again. They've done it once, and he knows that it's inevitably going to be doing it twice, which leads to what I always say: never get excited for anything in WWE because they're always going to F it up, and they always do. Bray Wyatt knows it more than anybody because he works there, and he's already been effed up once. Cringy Lynch defeats Asuka. At this point, I really didn't care. This was another long format 20-minute match. Honestly, this is what I'm saying. These matches don't need to really be this long. Bray and Bryan, that's a world title match. Understandable. And it deserved every minute that it got. But a match like this, oh, come on. First of all, Cringy Lynch, there's no way she's going to work a 10-minute match. You know that because this is the one who's responsible for eliminating the women term in NXT. And of course, she had to walk it back, right? What a great revolutionary, right? I mean, she, honestly, she really is a tremendous George Washington of her time, or Stone Cold to be more accurate, right? Because she's saying, we should eliminate the term women, but then when people start accusing her of being responsible for all these cringy changes, so of course, when there's cringy changes, we're going to go right to the source of the cringe, which is Cringy Lynch, because she was the one who talked about it, and then it came to be. Now, okay, like she said, she doesn't make these decisions. It's up to WWE. They just put her out there as a figurehead to kind of just, say what they're going to do. They already had the intention, but they wanted to make, Becky Lynch's words are gospel, and, whatever she says is going to be written down on the WWE 10 Commandments, basically. That's what it seems like. This was just, I don't know what to say. Didn't really feel it. I don't really watch Cringy Lynch matches, and I don't get engaged in them. It wasn't a bad match. It wasn't a sloppy match or anything like this. But, at this stage in the game, Asuka, they tried everything with, being a credible challenger, her getting wins over her, and, tag matches and stuff, but you sit there and you're like, Asuka's time has passed. Does anyone really buy her as a viable threat? They can paint her face, they can make her super scary like a heel and everything, but I'm not buying it. Like I said, no one's consistent on this roster. It's they give them a few months and then they throw them away. I'm done with you. It's kind of like that meme from Toy Story with Andy dropping Woody on the floor. I'm done with you. That's exactly how it is with basically every superstar on the roster. So yeah, Becky gets the win. I don't really have a lot more to say here. You pretty much know I'm not really involved or invested in any of this women's stuff, especially when it's involving Cringy Lynch. The men's Royal Rumble. What a beautiful match this was, I just have to say. I really enjoyed Brock Lesnar kicking things off. Okay, I was a little bit upset. I was looking forward to seeing more of Elias. He comes out, he does his song. Surprisingly, nothing about the Houston Astros. Big controversy there surrounding the World Series, but carry on, like he's in the right venue for it. Like even Vince Russo was talking about this, and you're scared. I know why, because God forbid they say something and it pisses off, the park. And there's to be like, you're never coming back to Minute Maid Park again. I mean, what an opportunity for some sensational heat, some pop culture reference, to really kind of make it more memorable. But, anyway, Elias gets tossed out. Morrison, who just returned, gets tossed out. But, okay, I mean, they were trying to tell a story here with Brock. I don't know why he's in the Rumble. He's preventing, I guess, there from being a challenge. Brock tosses everyone out. Even Keith Lee ends up getting tossed out, who CM Punk picked to win, which was a really stupid pick. Because, once again, do you really expect an NXT wrestler to win a WWE Royal Rumble? Anyway, Ricochet comes out, and then Drew McIntyre comes out, or it might have been the other way around, but whatever. Ricochet hits a low blow on Brock, paying him back from Raw. Then you've got Drew McIntyre coming, hitting the Claymore kick, kicks Brock over the top rope. Brock has been eliminated. That was good, I guess, to get a little thing in there for Ricochet. I would have really liked to see, after that elimination, Brock jump in and beat the ever-loving crap out of Ricochet. But, anyway, especially because we learned during the Women's Royal Rumble that even if you're not in the match, you could still eliminate people. But anyway, Drew takes him, throws Ricochet out. So that was also a good spot, too. Brock doesn't come back for the remainder of the match, which was really surprising. But, never mind that, because, who comes back? We got... Well, MVP was out there as well. He did his entrance. He got chucked out. I don't think his pop was really that big. I don't think a lot of people remembered him, even though he was a pretty big Ruthless Aggression star. But he gets tossed out by Brock as well. So I just wanted to mention that. But anyway, the big name that was in this, Edge. Edge came back. Okay, it was pretty obvious when he posted, I think it was on his Instagram, the photo of him staring at his bag full of his wrestling attire. So it made perfect sense that he would return. And he did return. And, of course, like everyone was pointing out in our little get-together that, Edge looked like he had aged in the face, but his body looked good. He was moving around. He had not missed a step. He looked awesome in there, and I was super psyched. At this point, yes, I wanted to see Drew win, and Drew McIntyre ended up winning the whole thing. We'll just say it right now. But I was really looking forward to seeing Edge win. It did come down to Roman Reigns, Edge, and Drew McIntyre. So Reigns eliminates Edge, which makes sense. Get eliminated by a big star. And then Drew eliminates Reigns. And Drew actually ends up winning the whole thing. You had Rollins come in there. Funny how they had Buddy Murphy up on the graphic, but all he did was do a run-in with AOP. There was chaos. I actually liked that spot with Rollins, bringing in the backup and everything like that. I'm not sure how I feel about guys fighting outside. Like the same thing in the Women's Royal Rumble. They've really gone overboard with doing so much stuff outside where I get it. Like you have to be thrown over the top rope to be eliminated. But I kind of like the old school feeling of like there's like an invisible barrier there. Like even though you could slide under the bottom rope, because really, like, if you could do that, like, wouldn't every single wrestler do that? Like, it should be against the rules. You should not be allowed to exit the ring. Seeing Braun Strowman exit the ring and, do that stupid, like, run around and hit Keith Lee, like, they should not allow that stuff. Let you know what I mean? Like, okay, these are fake wrestling rules. I get it. But we should not have that in the Royal Rumble. It's supposed to be about being in the ring and throwing people out. If that's the case, like, then do that during Battle Royals. Like, why would you stay in there with everybody? Wouldn't a couple of people just slide out and wait at ringside? And I know you can't think that way. You have to suspend your disbelief. I get it. But the more and more they do it, the more and more it bothers me. But anyway, I was happy with Drew winning. Finally, he should have won last year. Like, you guys, like, think back and, like, what a waste that was having Seth freaking Rollins winning the Rumble last year. Like, honestly, you think of, like, where Rollins is now. He's back to being a tag team wrestler in the faction where he started. What was the point of him winning the world title, beating Brock Lesnar in 5 minutes? Then you see Brock Lesnar is, like, tearing through everybody once again. Like, does anyone see the booking being disjointed? Now, this was a great Rumble. This match, I really liked the way it was laid out. The surprises, there was big names at the end. They kind of got rid of their mid-carders early. I would have liked to see, I told you, Elias and Morrison do a bit more. But, you had some, you had AJ, Edge in there, Reigns, McIntyre, Randy Orton. I really enjoyed seeing the team up with Orton and Edge. That was a nice little callback there. I really did like Orton and Edge teaming together back in the day, so that was cool to finally see them get back together again here and do that, little rated RKO spot. So I like the way this Rumble was booked. I thought it was beautifully done. I wish that they would have this mentality more often. Like, this is what I'm saying. There's no excuse. Because if they could do a Rumble this good, and they had their finger on the pulse, and they kind of knew what people wanted to see, there could have been a few more surprises there. But, like, honestly, I kind of think, like, who's left? Who could they really get? Trotting out the same legends every year. Is it like, you had Edge, and that was amazing. I really hope that Edge knows what he's doing. Also interesting to note that it looked like AJ got injured there. Edge hit a spear on him. He did a flip. I'm not sure if the spear injured him or it was the flip that AJ did to sell the spear, whatever the case may be. He was like rolling on the ground, and I think they had to do like a quick elimination with him to get him out of there. So I hope everything's okay with him. But really nicely laid out Rumble. But like I said, with Edge, I get it. He had the triple fusion. He's doing good. It's just the way how the style is nowadays, and they throw caution to the wind, and there doesn't seem to be any barrier now about what's too dangerous. I mean, Tommaso Ciampa comes back from a career-threatening neck injury, very similar to Edge, and they're throwing him off a cage the very night that he returns, or like a few nights after he returns. So like, I just hope that Edge is looking at that. I understand he loves it. He's been watching everybody for almost the past decade do what he loves to do. It's just, Edge, is it worth it? It was great seeing him be back in there and look as good as he did and wrestle as well as he did, and he was athletic, and it was great to see. But I don't know. I can't help but worry about the guy. It's the same thing like with Daniel Bryan. Just hope he knows what he's doing. But anyway, it was a decent show. It really was. It was something else. I'll be a little bit more generous than that. It was a good show, a good Rumble. Nothing really terrible. The Women's Rumble was even enjoyable. There were really, like, the only bad match was Bayley and Lacey Evans. That was a real dud. Just like a bleh, just pointless match there. Daniel Bryan, The Fiend, another great match. So, like, you had, like, you had like 3 pretty good matches there. You know, 2 good Rumbles. You had an awesome Rumble, and you had like a good Rumble, and then you had a good world title match. So I really couldn't ask for much more than that, I suppose. I could ask for more on the regular basis, of course, but enjoyable Rumble. Anyway, there you go, guys. What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. I've been checking out Facebook. Most people seem to be responding to this pretty well. You know, I think they enjoyed the way how this Rumble was booked. I'm sure the Smarks really would have wanted to see something else. I don't know, but I liked it, and many other people seem like they liked it. So, you know, subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get all notifications when I post all my new videos. And guys, I'll see you next time.